Good morning, everybody, and a happy Thursday morning to you. We have a lot of royal news, and I made a mistake. I thought Meghan's podcast was over, but God help us, it's not. Number 7 came out, and we're going to cover it in this video along with some other stuff that's recently come out. So let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. We're starting off with the refurbishment of Dunkirk Memorial. This is located at Ramsgate, and it was rededicated by Prince Michael of Kent, who is the honorary admiral. Obviously, the memorial is for everybody who went over to Dunkirk in 1940. Next up, we have the Duchess of Edinburgh on May 14th. She went to visit the Defense Academy and attended a course there about human security in military operations. She learned all about their contribution to peace and security. And as usual, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what Sophie was wearing on this day. I love that dress. Now moving on, she attended a conference hosted by the Royal College of Ophthalmologists, I think I'm saying that right, a few days ago in Liverpool. And while she was in the same outfit, so it had to be the same day, she went to visit the staff and students at the Royal School for the Blind charity. And she went to see how the school is being, helping reshape perceptions of visual impairment. She took part in some activities like table cricket, and then she tried to write in Braille. And as usual, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us once again what Sophie was wearing. Now let's move on to Catherine. This was interesting. Back in 2023, the Princess of Wales met Maidenhead rugby coach Sarah Renton. And during this engagement, Catherine spoke to her and heard the story of how Miss Renton's daughter, Issy Phipps, unalived herself at the age of 17. And Miss Renton gave Catherine a pair of earrings made by Issy's cousin, Sophie McGowan. And in the 2 years which have followed, Sophie has spoken about how her life has been changed thanks to the Princess of Wales. Her business is now thriving, and she said the panic attacks and agoraphobia that once left her terrified to step outside is gone. The earrings, by the way, have been sold. It's ear sass, and the designs have raised almost £20,000 for charity after Catherine wore the earrings twice. And so there is a link to, go and buy them if you want. But I like the fact, I'm not complaining about the link here because it's all for charity. It's not personal. Love it. Moving on. Let's go back now to Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, who, by the way, is the global ambassador for the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness. And yesterday, she attended the 2025 Orbis Visionaries reception at the Battersea Power Station in London. And Sophie said at this event that she hopes then plans that by 2030, people put eyes at the forefront rather than an afterthought, because issues are not being taken as seriously as they need to be. Oh, exactly. Okay, let's move on. Next up, we have Catherine and William, the Prince and Princess of Wales. They were named by Time magazine in their top 100 philanthropy awards. They have been hailed for being philanthropic innovators for modernizing royal philanthropy. We know that Catherine has recently launched her Shaping Us scheme. You have the Royal Foundation Business Task Force for Early Education, and they've teamed up with the major companies. William is planning his 5th Earthshot Prize, which provides $5 million per year on eco projects around the globe. He's got his campaign to end homelessness through the charity Homewards, which is linked up with a lot of other people. I mean, obviously, they're less concerned with cultural preservation and more attuned to social issues, tackling homelessness and rural mental health through the Royal Foundation. And they're not running around basically picking up awards they haven't earned like other people. Love it. Also, as a reminder, they were on that list several years ago, but that was when they came out with that ridiculous thing where Harry looked like Meghan's hairdresser. This was her power pose, and he had his hair photoshopped on because we all know he doesn't have that much hair. And people just made so much fun of them because they really didn't earn their spot on the Times 100 list. It was paid for. Let's move on now to Charles and Camilla, who is going to open Canadian Parliament, and this will be the first time that Canada's monarch has done so since 1977. They went to the Canadian High Commission Canada House, which was opened 100 years ago in 1925 by Charles's great-grandfather, King George V. Once they got inside, the High Commissioner for Canada, his name is Ralph Goodale, and Chief Perry Bellegarde pointed out places on the map of Canada to King Charles and Queen Camilla. The king was also presented with a very unusual key. I'm not going to lie, I have no idea what it's the key to. Obviously, it's symbolic, but it would have been nice to know what it. Obviously, it's not the key to the city. It's Canada. But it was a beautiful box. Anyway, on the way out, they, of course, passed by the guards that were by the door. And you have to know, I saw these pictures on Twitter, and somebody said, you know that King Charles is looking up at the guy going, how's the air up there? I mean, I can totally see that. Now, it's being said that this visit is enabling Charles and Camilla to look forward to next week's historic visit to the capital, Ottawa. And the funny thing is, they're saying that one of the things that they're hoping is to reinforce the country's sovereignty and independence. And because remember what Donald Trump said, that he was going to make Canada the 51st state of the USA, which is, quite frankly, one of the dumbest things I think I've ever heard him say. And listen, Canada's not for sale, and Trump's tariffs would be bad for the economies of both countries. So that's all I can say. All right, moving on. Catherine and William, the Prince and Princess of Wales, hosted a King's Garden party at Buckingham Palace a day or two ago. Princess Catherine was wearing the same yellow dress by Amelia Wickstead that she wore to the Platinum Jubilee. I still remember that. At this particular garden party, there were guests from several of their patronages, passion projects, and military affiliations. Among the groups represented was William and Catherine's homeless charity Homewards, one of Catherine's patron nonprofits, Action for Children, the Welsh Children's Hospice, Ty Hafen, and also attending were tenants from across the Duchy of Cornwall, which we know is the private estate that provides an income for William and Catherine. Now, what I find very interesting is that they asked other family members to step in and help, and they did, which just shows, that the family is banding together. So one of the people that was there in this gorgeous flowered dress that you can see is Zara, who stepped up to the plate when asked. Another person that stepped up to the plate when asked was Eugenie. And I'm loving that hat that she was wearing and the polka dot dress. Absolutely gorgeous. Who else stepped up? The Duchess of Edinburgh, looking absolutely fabulous. I believe Edward was there as well. And also the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester were there. Fabulous. So everybody went out into the crowd, and you'll see in just a little bit, because I picked the pictures up. I just could not believe the amount of people who show up to these garden parties. We're talking like thousands. I can't even imagine how William and Catherine get around to talking to everybody in the crowds. But there was one very specific family that was there. Catherine walked right up and hugged Liz Hatton's mother and offered to help the family's fundraising efforts in memory of her. Now, if you guys don't remember, she is the girl that was the photographer, and they helped her fulfill her bucket wish before she passed away. Catherine also met with her little brother. Just such a touching story of what happened. The little boy handed Catherine and William Jellycat toys, because apparently these were Liz's favorites, and she would give them to people who made her happy. Now, the young lady passed away at age 17 from a rare abdominal sarcoma just weeks after she was seen hugging Catherine. And she was on a bucket list, like I told you, and she photographed an investiture at Buckingham Palace as part of her bucket list. William also met Tony Hudgell. You guys remember him? He's the little boy who had both of his legs amputated. He was at the garden party, and in 2020, he walked 10 kilometers to raise funds for the Children's Hospital, of which Catherine is the patron. Now, Catherine was also seen hugging a Holocaust survivor that was there at the party. She gave him a hug and said, "I feel like we're old friends." God, I just love her. She looks fabulous. So the party continued, lots of people to talk to. Now, in case you don't recognize it, that hat that she's wearing is the one she wore to Harry and Meghan's wedding, and the earrings are the ones that were gifted to her by her parents at her wedding. Now, they're talking about the fact that earlier in the year, Catherine made it a point to wear very muted colored ensembles because she wanted the focus of her work to be the charitable organizations. And Kensington Palace also released a very rare statement back in February, clarifying comments from a Sunday Times article that claimed that there were concerns about Catherine's style overshadowing her charity work. And the same article stated the palace would no longer be releasing details of Catherine's day-to-day engagements. Well, there you go. You know, Catherine's not trying to make money off what she's wearing. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I think she looks fabulous. And as usual, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us everything that Catherine, Zara, Sophie, and Eugenie was wearing to this fabulous event. All right, let's move on now to our Harry-Meghan stuff. To start with, Meghan Markle, is anybody surprised by this? She used a Princess Diana-themed tea tin with some British phrases trying to promote her As Ever brand. So she reposted a photo on her company's official Instagram page of a fan showing off that they had made shortbread cookies. And the plate of cookies was pictured alongside a commemorative Princess Diana tea tin, which is being flogged for 6.99 pounds on New English tea. And it also posted a peculiarly British post with the caption, "I made the As Ever official shortbread cookies, so good and great with a spot of tea." So suddenly they're saying that Meghan has sudden Anglophilia after leaving the British family. And they're saying that the tea tin was tacky and a spot of tea. No one says that. Maybe she's watching too much Mary Poppins. All right, next up, Samara Gill from Talk TV went on a rant. Oh my God, listen to this.
They can't be seen as victims anymore, and it's because they keep doing stuff which is completely hypocritical and the opposite of what they're trying to preach. So, you know, Meghan goes, "I want privacy, I want privacy." Her Instagram has turned into a broadcast channel of every left, right, and center move that they take. Yeah. Every sort of finger that's lifted by one of their kids who they so famously wanted privacy for. Yeah. Harry saying that he wants protection and security, going around and knocking on people's doors the day of him being in court trying to fight for that. They're hypocrites, and no one's falling for it, Kev.
I mean, she's absolutely right. Harry claimed he feared for his safety. He missed his friend's wedding. There are things he doesn't go to because he says it's unsafe, but then he goes strolling up to a stranger's house like he's canvassing for a local county seat. So the hypocrisy isn't subtle, and everybody is paying attention. All right, I made a mistake and told you I thought the Confessions of a Female Founder was over, but it was not. My mistake. And the 7th episode came out, and she was joined by Cassandra Morales, and they talked about grit, intentional design, and a scrappy mindset were intention. And what do you think happened? Meghan took a swipe at the royal family. But before I was a mum, not mum. I'm going to give a speech with a baby on my hip. I had a whole vision. And then you fast forward. Granted, I had a lot of external things happening by that time. I had both pregnancies and both babies, but it was not in the way I envisioned. Her swipe at the royals came when she said, I had a lot of external things happening. Personally, I think those comments were really stupid, especially since she's already admitted that she has a nanny. She's had a nanny the whole time. Of course, Meghan also patted herself on the back by letting her know how she likes to show up for people. You know, she said down to the core of what you've always been like doing. So you look at the evolution of that. And for me, I've always been making preserves and I've been giving fruit baskets. I love to garden. And before I had a house and a garden like this in my bungalow, I had a lemon tree. So all of these years later, there's been this undercurrent of how I like to show up for people, and I still have that ingrained in how I show up through my business. And again, this was a snooze fest, boring podcast where these two women used the metaphor of gardening to describe the process of building a business. And they emphasize that growth is not always immediate and requires patience and attention to detail. I'm sorry, I thought you were supposed to get tips and tricks on how to build your business. Instead, all you get are these stupid metaphors. Now, at one point, I thought you might actually get something. Meghan said this, and I'm quoting. Meghan says, so in those early days of the kitsch, as you know, you're going door to door and greeting customers for getting feedback and pivoting as necessary to make sure the packaging that you're making in your apartment and the hair ties you're making in your apartment are all what you feel will be of service for people in their day to day. How do you get over the next hurdle? What's the first break that you have that gets you at a completely different level? The baby step or the giant leap? So they joked around for a second. Then the woman goes, well, I just feel like everybody's in such a hurry to be successful, right? To get there, to make these big things. When you're bootstrapped, you actually can't. You have to be very slow, very responsible. Every single opportunity that comes across your plate, you need to make sure it's profitable. Yeah, that's her advice. Now, you should know during this podcast, her friend referred to her as Meghan Markle, even though with Love Meghan, remember that she gave Mindy Kaling all that trouble and said, you need to call me Sussex? Well, this woman goes, I love that you call me Cassie. There's such a small handful of people that call me Cassie. It's like my immediate family and Meghan Markle. And Meghan laughed and goes, it's like Meg or M. It's the same thing. It's how we met all those years ago. God, after the way she ripped, Mindy Kaling's head off, my goodness. One other interesting thing that happened while they were talking, this girl Cassandra was talking about her brand's logo evolution, and Meghan quipped, yes, probably much easier than a trademark. And the two of them started laughing, and Cassandra goes, oh yes, much easier to trademark. Oh my goodness. I want your comments on this, so make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, my second channel. My videos about my trip are still popping in there. A link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.